Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Tiffany. Welcome to my home in New Orleans. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Tiffany Shanelle. I'm an interior designer, and this is my home in New Orleans. We have been in this home for about just under a year. We started building in 2022, and we actually were originally starting out just looking for a home. We loved the home that we had before, and we really couldn't find something to really beat that. So we ended up just building from the ground up. My personal style, I like to call, especially with this home, I like to call it New Islands. So it's a mix of New Orleans and the islands. My husband is from the Caribbean. We own quite a few Airbnbs, mostly in the Caribbean. And so we go often. And as life has been lifing and the kids have gotten older and we have school schedules and all the activities, we can't get out as often. So we said, instead of always being able to go to the islands, we created a space that kind of felt like the islands at home. I'm an emerging designer. I've done a lot of my own projects. We have quite a few Airbnbs throughout the Caribbean, and I was the one who designed them. And finally, we did this project, which has been my biggest project yet. We built this from the ground up. Every piece of hardware, everything you see, I picked and I loved it. And most people say that they don't like building houses, it's stressful. I absolutely loved the process. And when we were finished, I was sad. I wanted to do more. And so I wanted to, and as people came over, they would say, you gotta help me. Can you help me build my next home? So it just kind of organically happened. And now I have a few projects of my own and I'm super excited about it. Is the foyer. This is truly the first thing that people see when they come in. So I really wanted to create a strong impression here. There's a lot of little details in this space that I really love. The first thing I knew I wanted was cypress wood console. I absolutely love this. This is one of my favorite pieces that we have in this house, as well as this painting here by BK, who also did the one that we have in the kitchen. And this is a really nice painting. It's actually taught that we are not born to hate. That is the message in this picture, and I really, really love that. And what's interesting about this is we had this piece in our previous home, and it sat in a very prominent place. However, nobody seemed to notice it till we got here, and our craftsman builders, actually asked me when we were building this space, was there a piece of art that I was going to want to put here? And I knew when they asked me that it would be this piece. And so we built the wall so that we could fit this piece exactly into the wall, and then highlighted it with this light. We did the herringbone floor here, which also helps us separate the spaces between the kitchen and the living room. Another thing that I loved was incorporating the white oak on the ceiling. And this is one of my favorite light fixtures in the entire house. I love this light fixture. I'm so happy I was able to get it. I almost wasn't able to get it, but I got it. And it couldn't have been better in this space. And what I love is that the space is open. The kitchen and the living room are open to each other, but there is a degree of separation in between the two, and I love that. And then you'll notice with the light fixtures, there's a lot of white light fixtures between here and the kitchen. And a lot of people might say it might have been too many light fixtures, but I think because they were white and they're actually almost all the exact same color as the walls, it just still feels very seamless and doesn't feel like too much, at least. Welcome to my living room. This is actually the first space that most people see when they walk into the actual house. And it's funny because I started out with this house, I didn't want to have a formal living room. I didn't want to have a formal dining room because they ended up kind of being dead spaces in our previous house. The dining room ended up being full of computers and books. And so I didn't really want that. I didn't want a formal living room. So this is more of like a family room that flows into the kitchen. However, it kind of has almost become the formal living room because this is probably the space we spend the least amount of time in. But I love this space. I love this fireplace. This was a custom made fireplace. Craftsman builders, the contractors, they helped me create this. And we did a TV over it, but it's a frame TV that rarely ever is on. And most people, when they come in, have absolutely no idea that it's a television, which I like that as well. So one of my favorite features in this space is the Cristallo backlit bar. I think it's great, especially when you walk in here. It's one of the first things that you see. And one of the other things I did here was we put drawers for the liquor. We knew I didn't want to be able to have the liquor out. So it's all here kind of tucked away. And I think that's kind of one of the things I loved about building this house was I tried to think of how we naturally live and creating a space for each of those things. So that was one thing that I really loved. These also light up this shelf. However, sometimes I feel like it takes away from this, but there are times when you can do both or you can do either or, and I do like that option. My go-to drink is a blood orange margarita, or really any margarita with whatever is in season at that time. I'm definitely known for my margaritas. I got that from my dad. And we will typically use something like this. Now, if somebody wants champagne, we obviously have champagne glasses here. We have a beautiful decanter here. These are also really great for tequila. They are made with Himalayan salt. So you already kind of have like your salt in your shot, which is kind of fun as well. My father-in-law got us this sonoram set here, which is really special to us. I absolutely love the sofa in here. It's super comfortable, but it's also very pretty and luxurious. I love the color. I think it's not a color that you see often. And you notice it, but at the same time, it kind of blends really well with the space. And I can appreciate that. And, we did some pops of colors with the pillows. You'll notice that we have a lot of books around the house that are from different parts of the world. Love to travel. We love to be inspired by the places that we travel. So you'll see that. Well, this book here, we have a Dubai book and we have an African adventures book. Two places that I actually have never been yet. But Dubai is on our list actually to come to as well. We have an Airbnb coming there, but we haven't been there yet. But that's going to be when I have to actually figure out how to furnish from here, there. It's going to be interesting with the time differences and the cultural differences, but I'm always up for a good challenge. But that's actually my next project, is furnishing a 2-bedroom condo in Dubai. These chairs, I loved these chairs the moment that I saw them. I love that they swivel. And so what's also great is, when you open up these panoramic doors, it kind of joins this space. And so really, if you have enough people can still be here and be involved in a conversation outside, which I really love. One of my favorite features about this space are these doors. They are panoramic doors. They create a indoor-outdoor seamless space, which almost expands the veranda or expands the living room, whichever way you want to look at it. But it lends itself to the indoor-outdoor living that we love so much. A lot of the books that we have here are designer books. My husband really he studies designers. And you'll see more in his space. But we highlighted some of his favorite designers here. He loves Virgil, loves Steve Sprouse, and you'll see more of that some of the other spaces, but we did highlight it here as well. I also have my mother's urn is here, which a lot of people think is a little strange, but I find it really comforting, and it looks out to her garden, which I know makes her really, really happy. Of the light fixtures are inspired by plants. So you'll see these sconces here, which kind of mirror a little bit of the tropical plants that are right below them. And you will kind of see the plants and these tropical inspired lights throughout the house. This house was definitely built for entertaining, and we mostly entertain outside. So we really built the house around that. And here in Lake Vista, this neighborhood in New Orleans, the houses are actually made kind of backwards, or I don't want to say backwards, but you enter from the back. So the back is your first impression, and the front is actually on a lane. So you really can only access the front from walking. So for most people, when they come over, they come in through your backyard. And so we wanted to make that the first impression. And really, as people come in, sometimes they'll never make it inside. You know, we have a great full kitchen outside and living space outside. The veranda actually can close and be a room itself. And it's good for any weather. So if it's wintertime, we can put the fireplace on, we can open up the doors, the heat from inside goes outside, and vice versa. In the summer, we're outside with the kids. They swim, they can play basketball. My husband has a little mini golf. And so it really was designed to just be able to be outside. There's access to a restroom from outside. And so yes, it was definitely designed for entertaining, but you can also come in, and when you come in to the kitchen and the living room. And most people really don't go much further than that, and I kind of like it. Next, I would like to show you my kitchen and dining area. Welcome to the kitchen and dining area. This is probably second to the veranda where we spend most of our time, if not even more. I find myself in here like 80% of the time. And I knew that in building the house. So I didn't want to have a formal dining room. I wanted everything to be one space. I thought that was really important. I always found myself, I cook a lot. I would always find myself alone in the kitchen, and now it felt a little lonely, or I'd also feel a little crowded in the kitchen because everybody wanted to be in there and there really wasn't enough space for everybody to be comfortably in there. So in designing this space, I wanted it to be comfortable, knowing that this is a natural gathering space. And so we did the dining room here, which looks out into the pool, which is, feels like a vacation. I love the textures in this table. I knew I wanted a table like this when we built this house. I knew exactly what I wanted for this space. And I went to High Point, which is where I got a lot of the furniture in the house, and was able to hand pick everything that I wanted for each space. I love the imperfections of this table. I don't think it would have been the same if it had been like a perfectly straight dining room table. And really, I saw these chairs. This is probably one of the first things I saw when I was looking for furniture. And I kind of did this space around these chairs. I loved these. I almost wanted all of them to be around the table like this, which would have been too much. So we made those the anchors on each side and put these here in the middle. Another great feature is this wine closet as well. It makes for a great backdrop, and we entertain a lot, so it definitely comes in handy. I absolutely love this light fixture. I love looking at it from both the kitchen as well as from outside. That's one of my favorites. And this piece of art here, this is from an artist named BK, and this is from his Mother Earth series. And it's actually called his Earth series, which means everything always returns to her, which I really, really love. I love that it's a grounding space. I love the green in the kitchen. I love that it's right next to outside. It's the perfect space for this. And it's probably my favorite piece of art in the house. We chose these large arched windows. And when I worked with Mark Schroeder on the plans for this, I knew that I wanted that a lot of the downstairs windows to be arched. And I really wanted this to just be open. It almost feels, again, where you've got the kitchen, the dining, and it almost feels like you're outside as well. And we have the arch on the gate. And so you'll notice that we have arches in quite a few places of the house. You'll see them on the stairs, you see them in the windows, you see them on the gate, and there's various different places that you'll see it. I love the curves. I don't like everything always to be a perfectly straight line, and I think this is a great complement to the space. Next, we have our kitchen, which seamlessly flows from the dining room. I love this Frigidaire, this double Frigidaire refrigerator and freezer. Some people think it's too big, but I think it's never too big. Always can fill it up easily. I wanted a really large island, and I love sitting here. I actually never mind doing the dishes because I've got this beautiful view here. There's always somebody that's going to come in here and sit here, and my kids will do their homework or just come and talk and help me cook. So this is I really love this space. I also knew that even though we have the TV in the living room and that the spaces kind of come together, I knew that I would never make it to the couch to sit down. So I made sure that we incorporated a space above the refrigerator that if you didn't know it, it looks like a piece of art, but that's also a TV. And that is actually the TV that probably gets used the most downstairs. I love this monogram stove. I think it sings. So like when something's finished, it sings. It's very peaceful, very harmonious, and I can appreciate that as well. And even with the cabinets, with everything, I loved being able to have your spice cabinet, your spices here. Everything is really built around how I naturally move in this space, which makes it so much easier. And then back here, we have somewhat of a coffee bar. I mentioned before, the house is inspired by resort life. So this is almost like the continental breakfast bar. You've got your coffee, you always have some muffins, there's always some fruit. And it's also good because before my kids can make it to the pantry, they can, they stop and have a piece of fruit. It actually typically works, actually. And so back here, we have what you would call the butler pantry. And we have an additional, if we're entertaining and we have a mess going on, we can do it back here and it doesn't mess with the flow of out there. And that's probably one of my favorite things about this space as well. We have another ice maker here. I have all of my appliances, which I made sure that we built these cabinets that were able to carry like all of my appliances so that we did not have to have things on the counter. So anytime I need to use the blender, not coffee, but tea or, anything, I just pull it down, plug it in, and then when I'm done, I put it back up. And I really, really love that. And then, we have our pantry back here. One of the special touches I think we have in this kitchen are the china. When we were designing the kitchen, I knew I wanted to have the glass at the top, but I also knew I would probably never be able to reach up there. So we decided to put china. Again, I feel like I keep mentioning my husband, but he grew up in the islands. Most of those were British islands. And so him and his family often have tea. And so one of the pieces that we have up there are his first tea set that he had. It's a Peter Rabbit tea set. We also have one that I made for our first anniversary here. And then my husband gifted me with this beautiful Louis Vuitton tea set up there. And then we were just missing one. And we put this beautiful tropical one here, which I think is great coming in from outside as well. So my favorite part of the home is the veranda. We spend most of our time out there. We have dinner out there. I go out there after the kids go to sleep and have a glass of wine. I have my coffee there in the morning. So that veranda is really almost the heart of our home. And it's the first impression when people walk in. And I love the views of it. The pool almost feels like the ocean, and that was kind of the vibe when you can go outside and feel the water, see the water and the waterfalls. Welcome to my veranda. This is the heart of our home. We do most of our entertaining here. So we designed this space in a way that pretty much nobody would really need to come inside if they don't have to. And typically when they come in through the gate, they stop here and they have everything they need here. So we have a living area here. We did this custom table here. What I really wanted was, I wanted the additional counter space like an island, but I wanted it to be also the dining space. So it works really well for both. You know, we'll make a pizza and then we can put it right here for everybody to enjoy. The adults typically are in here while the kids are out in the pool. It works out really well. We did a full kitchen. So we have refrigerator, more refrigerator with kids drinks and adult drinks. Got a pizza, sink, ice maker, grill and smoker, and then I wanted to make sure we incorporated a garbage can as well. I really wanted make sure we had a lot of greenery out here, so you'll see a lot of tropical plants. That really sets the tone for the space. And one of my favorite features is there are screens on each side. And so those screens will come down and close in the space, and it keeps the cool in, or it keeps the heat in, depending on the time of year. We open up these panoramic doors, and it really just creates a great flow into the living room. And you know, we're here in New Orleans in the South, and there's lots of mosquitoes, and so it allows us to enjoy being outside any time of year without getting bit up by all the bugs. So that's probably one of my favorites. I absolutely love this chandelier. This is my favorite, one of my favorite pieces out here. I love that it's not perfectly shaped. Like you'll notice there's some texture up there, and I really appreciate that. We put a TV out here as well. So, I mean, we literally spend all of our time out here. My husband was out here watching the game, like I said, and I'm out here with a glass of wine. The kids are out here by the pool. And yeah, I mean, we will have breakfast here. I typically will have my coffee here in the morning before everybody wakes up, before all the chaos happens. And we will have our lunch here. We will have dinner here. We literally spend most of our time as a family outside. And so I really think this space really lends itself to that. We wanted to make sure that this space could hold as many people as possible. So we have 2 large sofas. I love this table. I love that it has some texture. It's super heavy. So if there's a hurricane, it's not going anywhere. I love this swing. I wasn't sure if people were just going to just look at it, but it really is probably one of the favorite spots that most people sit, particularly my children fight over sitting here. And then, like I mentioned, we have this table that I love. This is my favorite. And actually, this is funny. This table was, when I designed it, I wanted it to sit high. But there was a little confusion when it was made, and when they brought it, I had already ordered my chairs. They actually had sat the table a little bit lower. And so it was more of a dining table, which was not what I wanted to do. So they ended up adding this black so that it could raise up a little bit higher. It ended up being perfect because it matches the black doors and the black accents that are around. And I actually feel like it makes it feel even more custom. It was a big fight with my contractor at first, and now he's very proud of how it came out, and we love it. Originally, we were going to continue the floor that we had by the pool and have it all just kind of flow into one space. But we realized that the tile outside was a little too thick, and that would make the step a little awkward when people walked up. So we found this that kind of flowed really well with that. I wanted it to feel big. I don't like a lot of grout lines, and I think it flows perfectly to out there, and it creates somewhat of a separation, but still feels like it's continued. So that worked out really well. And then the colors in this tile tie really well into the furniture, as well as the countertops. I love the way it turned out. So from the veranda, the view is the pool, which is one of my favorite features. You know, it's a great thing to wake up and look at. I really wanted to make sure that we incorporated this tropical garden. It's actually really, really special to me. My mom passed away almost 2 years ago, but she really loved plants. And so we call this garden Mimi's Garden, and it has all of her favorite plants here. So I actually really enjoy getting in here and pulling weeds and checking when the hibiscuses, how many flowers are on the hibiscuses. And it it almost feels like I'm spending that time with my mom. So this is probably one of the most special parts of this home, and especially this space. I know that if she was here, she would have been sitting there almost every day. I would find her there every day, and she would be looking at it, either telling me how beautiful it was or telling me what I needed to fix, what I needed to trim. And I literally can hear her voice all the time when I'm out here. So yeah. And then this space here, what I really wanted was I wanted green. I wanted some space. I didn't want to have too much maintenance. I didn't want to have a big yard to a lot of grass to cut. But ideally I did want to have some grass here because it is the backyard. So, but my husband, I also wanted to have a basketball court for my son. And then one of the other houses that we had looked at previously, we saw it had little mini golf in it. So now my husband kind of got stuck on the mini golf. So then we figured out a turf that actually is bounceable. So my son can play basketball, my husband can play golf, and I still have the green. So it really worked out for all of the worlds to kind of collide together. And I think it made a really cool space, actually. I think it's the personal touches that make a home really come alive. Like I mentioned that my husband is from the Caribbean, so you will see a lot of things that are inspired by the Caribbean. You see a lot of things that are inspired by my children, by my mother. Outside the garden, the plants that we chose, my mom passed away about a year and a half ago. Almost 2 years ago. And we have all of her favorite plants by the pool, and that's really special to us. And the rails of the stairs, they are inspired by New Orleans, but also my father-in-law is a pastor, and they kind of remind me of the church. So I think that those special touches are really what make a home feel like a home. You know, I think it's easy to have a pretty house, but I think it's something different that makes a home special. It makes it really feel like a home. Next, I would love to show you the primary bedroom. But before we go up, I would love to talk about these stairs. My builders, I have to give the credit to my builders, Craftsman Builders. I'd actually seen them do this in another home, and it was one of the first things I told them that we had to have after I saw that. Again, it makes for a great first impression when you walk into the home. I love the railing here. I think it lends itself to New Orleans with the iron rails, but it also is a nod to my father-in-law, who is a pastor, and I felt that the shape reminded me of a church in like the stained glass. And then also the wainscot that my builders did, I really think added a lot to this space. Welcome to the primary bedroom. So this is the primary bedroom. One of the first things I chose for this space was this light fixture. I loved the woven cane. It definitely reminded me of the islands. And then when we did these built-in shelves here, we made a point to match the woven cane to that light fixture, which I think is a really special touch. This is probably the other space that I use the most. My husband and I, he obviously sleeps in here, but this is almost like a she suite. So this is more of kind of the space I'm in more. I have an office here, a small office here, which is where I spend many hours a day. And it's not a big space, but it's got a good vibe. It's got good light. So I have this space here. Another thing I love about this space is the balcony. I spend a few evenings out here having a glass of wine, but I actually probably spend it most yelling at my kids like, hey, go get the ball. Hey, stop fighting. You know, it actually comes in handy really well because I don't have to run all the way downstairs to talk to them. I can watch them in the pool, and yeah, it's great. I love this gold bed. I think it makes a great statement for this space. And I think it highlights the nightstands as well, really well. The lights here, I didn't want to have lamps, so we did these fixtures hanging from the side, which I think is a really great touch, and it matches so well with the bed. So the bedding, we chose these colors again, inspired by island life, inspired by the ocean. This reminds me of the waves. So it's very calming. This space is very, very calming. It's a great space to come to after you've been running around all day, working all day. And that was kind of the idea, was that it would just feel very, very calming when you come in here. And I feel like we did that with the colors of this bed. I love the pillows. My husband is actually really big on pillows. So a lot of the pillows that you'll see, actually, my husband had a big hand in these. And these are actually Tiffany pillows, which is very fitting because I'm Tiffany. We got this piece of art in Costa Rica, and the minute I saw it, I knew it belongs in the bedroom with this comforter. Just the continuation of the waves. You can see the pool from outside. It's also very calming. I got these in Costa Rica as well, like these candle holders that are made out of shells. You know, this is here also, the boning here is also shell-like. The stones here remind me of the ocean. And that's kind of the theme of this space. And really, when you look at it, it almost feels like a hotel room, which was, again, the theme of the home and how you want to feel when you come home. It's just kind of feel like a place to relax and feel really good. And I feel like we accomplished that pretty well in this space. We have this seating area here. So, you know, I spend a lot of time, if I'm not in the kitchen or in my office, if I watch TV, I typically will watch it here. And so, you know, it's a great place to read a book, feet up. I love that these roll. You know, so sometimes my kids will come in. If we can't all fit on the couch, they can also sit here. And yeah, it's just a really great, comfortable space. I would love to show you my closet. This is probably the best part of this room. And so it's actually the master bath that flows into the closet. And you almost would call it more of like a dressing room, to be honest. Again, very calming, very white everywhere. I love that we did the tile all the way up the wall. I think that was a nice touch. We continued the flooring into the closet, which kind of made the space very seamless as well. I love this tub because it's almost like a clawfoot tub, but a modern version. And it's very, very comfortable. And then here you have the closet. I mean, I think it's a dream. You know, you have a space to do your makeup. I got a space for all the things. My contractors were like, how will you fill this space? There's no way you can fill this space. It wasn't that hard. So some of my favorite pieces are probably some of the bags that I have in here. I mentioned the Steven Sprouse book downstairs. That is the bag that matches. You know, I love this custom Dior purse here. And really, my husband gets a lot of credit for a lot of the bag. You will see why soon, but I love these bags. There's pretty much a story behind most of them. I believe that just in general, when you design a home, you should design it around your lifestyle. It should make your life a little bit easier. It should be built in a way that flows around the way that you naturally live. And then from there, you can make it pretty and you can add all the extra accents, but I think the most important part of designing a home is for it to be comfortable and for it to flow. Next, I will show you the man cave. This is my husband's space. We call it the Pit Boss Suite, a play on the penthouse suite. It's the third floor of the home. And we designed the space really around the designer bags that he collects. He had collected these bags for years, decades, and he needed a space to showcase them. And so when we built this space, that was the main plan. We built everything around these bags. And I have my husband here, and he can talk about it a little bit more because these are his babies.
Yeah, some people collect like cars, jewelry. You know, I collect bags. And, you know, each one has like some sort of meaning to it. You know, I like boats, and this is the Louis Vuitton 2017 America's Cup. They're all like 50-inch keep all Louis Vuitton duffels. This one is Bottega Veneta, just because I like orange and it's woven. And it's a cool bag. This is the Gucci Singali Tiger edition. Just a Gucci Island sand. None of these have ever been used, so it's pretty interesting. This is a piece that was designed by Kid Super, one of my favorite. Great collab for Louis Vuitton with Kid Super. This is like the Jungle Monkey. I just bought it because I like the islands and climbing a coconut tree, and I thought it was pretty cool. And this is the titanium edition, Louis Vuitton titanium, I think, and I think it's pretty cool too. I like a lot of color, and this is the Gucci Psychedelic. It came out, it's a limited edition for like an NBA All-Star, and Ryan McTaggart, good friend of mine, got it for me. This one is probably one of the most valuable ones. This is the first Murakami that came out in 2008. This is Pharrell, the Surf Edition. And this one's 101. I like Virgil, and that's the iridescent one, the prism that he made. This one is Pharrell's Gucci suitcase that I acquired in an auction. And I just like it because I like Pharrell. And this one is, if you're into fashion, Nigo. This was Nigo's 40 Hawk Hermes Birkin. And I just like Hermes, as you can see, a lot of orange. And the orange surfboard, Hermes little elephant there. This chair is pretty cool. I never sat on it, but it's won Chair of the Year 2 years in a row. It's called from a company called Wui.
So when we did this space is really built around his personality. You know, he mentioned he loves orange. Orange is his favorite color, so we definitely accented it with a lot of orange. It didn't hurt because he loves Hermes as well. We did this custom sign here. We've got all his favorite liquors here, and he really just, I mean, it's really, this is his space. He has his own primary bathroom here. This space has all the bells and whistles that the master bathroom has. He comes up here, he gets ready. He's got a sneaker closet here because he is a collector of all lots of things. And then he also has his wardrobe closet on the other side. And being that it's on the third floor, it's great because he has access to get up here without having to take the stairs whenever he needs. He travels a lot. He always has suitcases, so that works out really well. He could put his suitcases in the elevator and send them up, and they are here waiting for him. He arrives. Home is just somewhere that just feels like you can be yourself and feel relaxed. It's funny because we go on great vacations, but I long to come home from those vacations. And for me, that's what home feels, where no matter where you are and no matter how beautiful a place that you just came from, you come home and it just feels comfortable. It feels like where you should be. Homeworthy, it was so nice showing you around at my home in New Orleans, but you gotta go now. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.